Hello everyone, and how is it going, and welcome to my Prot Paladin 6.1 guide. So I thought I would make a new guide because I felt like my old one was a bit outdated now, considering how we've had a massive overhaul in the haste stat. So I'll just get straight into it. And so to start off with, I will tell you what the stat weights are. So the first stat weight that we're going to start with is bonus armor. Bonus armor is the most important, obviously along with stamina, but stamina comes on all your gear, so that doesn't really matter. You don't really take that into consideration. And the same with strength, so because obviously stamina, strength, and then, well, actually bonus armor is better than strength. So bonus armor, haste, and then I prefer to go to mastery, but if people say that if you're using Seraphim, you should go critical strike. And then, so if you're doing that list, it's haste, critical strike, mastery, versatility, and then multi-strike. So those are your after bonus armor, obviously. So those are your stat weights. These are the stat weights for obviously your stat weights will depend on whether what talent you're using at your end tier talent. So if you're using empowered seals, you'll want to go to 50% haste, and then change your all of your haste over the cap. You'll want to change it to mastery. And then if you're using Holy Shield, it's pretty much the same. It's just basically haste, mastery. So those are your stat weightings. And so, while I'm looking at the talents, I might as well talk about the talents. So you've got, for the first tier talent, I recommend Long Arm of the Law. However, it doesn't really matter. You can literally choose whichever tier talent that you want. And I usually prefer this because it's the most reliable, I'd say, because whenever you need a speed boost, you just literally Judgment, and then boom, you've got a speed boost. However, there are certain fights where this might be better, although in Blackrock Foundry, I have not found a use where this is better. In all cases, I've found that Long Arm of the Law is the best, or at least situationally, and in every situation that I've found, Long Arm of the Law has been better for me. Pursuit of Justice is, I don't really like it because you get 59% extra speed, but I don't really like the Holy Power thing because you will only have 5 Holy Power for a certain amount of time, and it only stacks to 3 like movement speed anyway. And then again, this tier you can literally use anything: Fist of Justice, Repentance, whatever. If you need CC, like when you're CCing trash or something, you can use that. But that's the only real reason using any of these. I just use Fist of Justice because I prefer the 30-second stun. Now in this tier, in the third tier, the most important one is Sacred Shield. And the main reason Sacred Shield is the best is because these two can overheal and can be useless at certain points, whereas Sacred Shield will never be useless. If you absorb a spell or an attack, then it's already outdone these two, because these two you have to take damage in order to use them. So Sacred Shield is by far the best option for this section. Now on to the next section. Hand of Purity is it's very, very situational. I think you'll only really use it on Darmak, maybe. I use it on Darmak Mythic, although it has just received the buff. It went from where it says damage taken, it's now just been buffed to 10%. Oh, sorry, 15% from 10%. But it's also useful on Flamebender Mythic, but I don't know. It still isn't that great, I wouldn't say. But I mean, if you've got a boss where there's lots of dots, which Flamebender and Darmak, where you have the bleeds, then this talent is really great. Otherwise, you're pretty much only going to be using Unbreakable Spirit for the rest of the time, as you get Lay on Hands, Divine Shield, and Divine Protection cooldowns reduced by 50%, which is massive. Clemency, the only time I use Clemency is on the Iron Maiden's fight, where you can cheese the line mechanic with the bops. Now down to the next tier. Holy Avenger is good, but I prefer to use Divine Purpose on situations where I know I'm going to be taking, what's the word for it, uncalculated damage. So where you don't know when you're going to be taking large amounts of damage. So on a fight like Black Hand, where you're just taking a lot of damage all the time, then I would take this. In fights where you know you're going to need an extra cooldown and you're going to be taking a lot of damage for a short amount of time, then Holy Avenger is better. Sanctified Wrath, I don't really like it at all, but again, people might find it useful in this situation. Some people use it, some people don't. I don't really like it. I would only split between Divine Purpose or Holy Avenger. Now, the next tier is also, again, it's really situational. So, on most fights, I use Light's Hammer. If there's any more than one target, I use Light's Hammer. If there isn't, I use Execution Sentence. Some people like Holy Prism for the cooldown, but I find Execution Sentences does more damage, and you only have to use it once. Whereas Holy Prism, you have to use it every 20 seconds for it to be remotely as good as the other two. So Light's Hammer is really good for AoE situations. Execution Sentence is only really good for single target situations. Now down to the last and the most, probably the hardest one to decide which one you take. If you were doing any sort of raiding, I would say Seraphim is the best option for you. If you haven't used Seraphim and you don't know how to use it and you're just using Holy Shield because it's the easiest one, swap the Seraphim and give it a go. Because on single target fights, it is above and beyond Holy Shield in terms of damage that you'll output. And although you get the nice block and you get the damage back, it just doesn't really measure up to the sort of tankiness that Seraphim gives. Although Seraphim does have a downside in the fact that when it's not up, you're very squishy, whereas Holy Shield, you're going to at least block stuff. Also with Empowered Seals, Empowered Seal is kind of like Divine Purpose. When you know you're going to be taking lots of damage all the time, Empowered Seals is a really good option. So people are using it at the moment on Black Hand Mythic, but I haven't. I've tested it out, but I haven't really got the gear for it yet, and my gear's quite good. As you can see, I got 686 gear, and my haste is around 1720. So that's just about enough, probably, to get 50% haste. So, and I already have quite a lot of mastery as well. I have 1260 mastery. So all of the stuff on my enchants and stuff, I have haste, and gems. All my gems and enchants are haste, and I'm just able to reach the 50% haste cap for Empowered Seals. So I reckon I need a bit more gear to be able to make the most out of Empowered Seals. So if you're raiding, then Seraphim is probably the best option that you guys would want to take. Okay, so now we'll move on to glyphs. Glyphs have been, again, overhauled with the patch. We've also had a seal removed. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we used to have Seal of Truth. That's now been removed, and to be fair, before they removed it, it was pretty gimped anyway. They'd reduced the damage by like 80% or something silly. So the main glyphs that you want to use is this one, Glyph of Final Wrath, because to be honest, there's not really that much else to use. You can use the double jeopardy if you want, but again, if you're using single target, it's not really, there aren't that many single target fights in the dungeon. Like, there's quite a few where there's like quite a lot of extra targets, so double jeopardy is pretty good. Focus Shield is good for the single target fights, so fights like Groll, fights like Orgorger, that kind of thing, you want to use Focus Shield for those. And all the other times, basically, you just use the setup. I use Sacrifice because Sacrifice is such an incredibly good spell, and it's good to put it on the tank, so I just use that instead of any other damage glyph, because the damage that I'm going to put out is going to be marginally better when a cooldown like this is pretty important for most of the fights that you're going to be using. Although, if I was able to use Clemency, which I can't because I need this talent, then Sacrifice would be even better, but I can't use it. So there's only a few glyphs really that you can use. This one is pretty much mandatory for every single fight except for Flame Bender, which is magic damage. But the rest of them are almost all physical damage, so there's no reason not to use this glyph. It's pretty much mandatory for everything. In terms of minor glyphs, you guys can use whatever glyphs that you want. I think that's just about everything. But now I can talk a little bit about the rotation, but it's going to be a bit clunky because I kind of want to show you. It's going to be a bit slow. So in terms of the Seraphim rotation, what you want to do is get to 5 Holy Power. Oh, I got, and so let me just get to 5 Holy Power. So get to 5 Holy Power, and then you use Seraphim. So once you have Seraphim up, you're going to take a lot less damage. Also, Seraphim have just been nerfed, by the way, so it's not 1,000 of each stat, it's 750. They just haven't changed the tooltip yet. So once you get your Seraphim up, you just want to get to 5 holy power. Well, spam Shield of the Righteous as much as you can in that time and build the holy power. You always want to keep your Judgment, or rather your Judgment, your Crusader Strike, and your Shield of the Avenger's Shield on cooldown all the time, because these are your holy power generating spells. So when you use this is on cooldown, you have a chance to get the cooldown, and when you take hits, it reduces the cooldown as well. Or not reduces the cooldown, but it has a chance to proc where it cools down. You also want to keep up Sacred Shield, which is why I have this little thing jumping around here, because it's telling me I don't have it up. You want to keep that up at all times. So yeah, so we'll just show you a quick rotation now. So you'll use Seraphim, and then you'll keep your 5 holy power in there. And then what your fillers are: Consecrate, Holy Wrath, and then whatever other spells are here. Obviously I'm just clicking them to show you. But you get Consecrate, and then you always want to keep your Holy Avenger's Shield, your Judgment, and your Crusader Strike on cooldown. Also, if you're a Blood Elf, use Arcane Torrent all the time. It's incredibly useful. It gives you, I know it doesn't sound like much with 1 extra holy power, but it's a lot. It's really awesome. I use it all the time. Pretty much keep it on cooldown. Also, when you're not in Seraphim, what you want to do is keep your Shield of the Righteous up as much as you possibly can. Because when you're not in Seraphim, when you don't have your Seraphim buff, you are quite squishy. So that's why you have this for Divine Protection. When you are maybe a few seconds away from being able to use Seraphim again, then you'll use that to keep yourself from basically just dying to all the random stuff. So yeah, so I think that's everything. If you guys enjoyed the guide, feel free to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. If you have any comments and questions and stuff, I'm more than happy to answer anything that you guys are unsure about. If I haven't explained anything properly, please feel free to let me know what I can expand on. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Cheers.